stone guys, one of which in particular was larger and stronger than all the others, which they decided to call the Sun
Vanguard,
Stones, who would eventually become known as the Stone Vanguard.
Bro, buddy was weak as hell.
Also encounter in the game. The
Homie
keeper
got
of the mountain,
freaking dogpiled by other guys.
and stone Yao Guai chief boss in the game, was not awarded any of the stone essence since he really didn't do anything in the fight. But after seeing how powerful
that's
made
why
the
he
other
was
mountain
like that.
deities, it made him so jealous that he ended up trying several different attempts to steal the stone essence that was given to the Mother of Stones, including even going so far as to try to disguise himself as a poise stone, one of the Mother of Stones.
That's why he
daughters,
looks
and
like
approached
that.
the Mother of Stones stealthily, attacking her and springing upon her, trying desperately to absorb her essence before her underlings could get him off of her. To his dismay, she screamed, alerting the other stone guys who got to him before he could complete the absorption, halting him halfway. And to his dismay even more so, he had absorbed just enough of the stone essence to transform his body into a stone, sealing him within his half-rock disguise forever. Then the stone guys, including the Stone Vanguard, pummeled him into the ground, where he stayed until meeting the Destined One, who then has the option of killing the Mother of Stones, absorbing her stone essence, and giving it to the Man in Stone, who believes it to be able to transform him back into his human form. After which the Destined One just beats it back out of him, and he then turns into a vendor for the rest of the game. But anyway, after the mountain deity's victory over the Buddha...
He's even a vendor. I should actually go back over there before I finish the game to see what he sells. I forgot about dude, bro.
The Yellow Wind Sage was once again heralded as a great hero by the mountain dwellers and settled down in a cave to live alongside his Tiger Vanguard, the Tiger's two sons, the King of Flowing Sands, his two sons, and the rest of the Sahali rat people. Eventually, Sun Wukong's trio passed by and came into contact with the old Tiger Vanguard, who had been tasked with scouting the mountainside in order to find some food for his master, the Yellow Wind Sage.
I think.
The Tiger Vanguard was determined to kidnap the monk in order to cook and eat him, which is kind of a theme with a lot of the different Yao Guais in the novel, since a lot of them believed the monk's flesh to be able to grant powers or immortality, but found himself in combat against the incredibly powerful Monkey King and his pig friend Zhu Bajie, who readily told them exactly who they were and what their purpose was. As the fight intensified, the trio moved further away from the monk, who had stayed behind.
What chapter
and in a dust...
Are you with the pig again? I'm trying to remember. The pig wasn't always there, right? I don't think the pig was with us in chapter 2. I think in chapter 3, that's when he met up with us, I believe.
Storm ripped his own chest skin off and placed it on a nearby rock as a distraction, then hurried back to steal the monk away, which ultimately was successful. When the tiger returned to the Wind Sage and told him who he was, the sage refused to eat him immediately, knowing that the monk's infamous monkey might show up demanding a fight. This proved accurate, and Sun Wukong did in fact appear soon after this at the mouth of the cave, demanding to fight to return his master. The Tiger Vanguard then came out to accept the monkey's challenge, which ended with him running away from Wukong, only to be cut down and killed by Zhu Bajie's nine-toothed rake. Wukong then sent Bajie back to tend the horse and returned to the cave of the Yellow Wind King to retrieve his master. After a very intense clash between the Monkey King and the Yellow Rat, the latter blew his Samadhi Wind directly into Wukong's face, which didn't kill him since he's one tough son of a bitch, but instead blinded him and caused him to retreat. Long story short, soon Wukong was healed by one of the immortals tasked with assisting the journey to the west, after which he returned in mosquito form and spied on the Yellow Rat within his cave. Overhearing that nobody can beat his Samadhi Wind except for his old master, Bodhisattva Lingji, Wukong then traveled to Mount Sumeru and enlisted Lingji's help in defeating the Yellow Rat, who knew exactly what to do. Bringing with him the Wind Tamer and the Golden Long Staff, he returned on Wukong's cloud to the Yellow Wind Ridge and had Wukong lure the rat back out of the cave. After the rat emerged and engaged in combat once again with the Monkey King, the Bodhisattva took him by surprise and hurled his Golden Long Staff at him, which transformed into a golden dragon that snatched up the Yellow Rat and slammed him against the mountain rockside, doing much damage to him that he de-transformed back into his original yellow mink form. After this, Lingji took the rat back with him to Mount Lingshan, and the Wukong trio reassembled and moved on past the Yellow Wind Ridge.
Okay, so far, I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard to rate a lot of these bosses because this storyline is so ongoing. So I'm gonna wait till the end to give a rating. I'm locked in, bro. I'm like immersed by this. So it's like, I'm not saying a lot because I'm just like invested in it. I think towards the end, maybe when everything wraps up, I kind of understand where we're going. Let me see if I'm close to being right with the tigers, if anything.
Were left to raise themselves alone. Since they were tiger guais, they were naturally more powerful than any of the other guais in the area and became their leader, with the older brother leading the rock guais of the mountain. The elder tiger abided strictly by a moral code, pledging to only devour evil and protect those who are good, which earned him the reputation of being a deity in the mountain. The villagers of the Ridge came to love
I didn't get that vibe from that one. Out of all of them, he seemed the one who was on the more crazier side, and he seemed to have those rats whipped as well too. Like they had to bring him meals on the clock, and I don't know what those meals intended, or not intended, but what those meals like were. But I can't imagine those were all just guilty people, guilty by his terms. Those that just seemed like a pool of blood that he needed to. He's hungry. That's what I gathered from that.
And even created the Crouching Tiger Temple in their honor, offering tributes to the tigers, which in turn made the tigers treat them even better. However, since the elder tiger, the Vanguard, was the face of the Tiger Brothers and the leader, this made the younger brother begin to feel envious of his older brother's renown. Believing in his heart that his older brother was no more worthy than he was, he simply lucked out by being born earlier. At the same time, the Rockwise were experiencing a little drama themselves. The father of Stones left the mountain unexpectedly, and the son of Stones went out to try to get him to come back, leaving the mother of Stones behind in the mountain.
What in the stone?
Because of this, she began creating more Rockwise than ever before to protect herself and the mountain she loved. This part is left up to interpretation, but I believe the father of Stones left the mountain and followed in the footsteps of the old evil stone Gwai that had absorbed all the Buddha heads, somehow undergoing a similar transformation and becoming the multi-Buddha headed Shigandang that we see and fight in-game. It also appears that the son of Stones fought his father and was able to bury him in the ground, keeping him sealed, then returned to guard the entrance of the mountain where his mother resided. A century passed, and the Yellow Wind Sage then returned to the Yellow Wind Ridge, back in his full Rat Gwai form, but this time with the head of Bodhisattva Lingji under his arm. This happened after the defeat of Sun Wukong, when the Yellow Rat was given the Fuming Ears relic. Just like the Black Wind Bear before him, the rat could also not figure out how to cultivate the relic's power from within his own body. So he tricked the Bodhisattva and successfully decapitated him, hoping to use his master's head as the vessel for channeling the relic's full power.
Like a conduit.
His plan at this point was to cultivate strong Samadhi winds in the ridge, sealing himself off from any interference while he attempted to unlock the relic's full power. Once the sage returned to the ridge, several things happened. The King of Flowing Sands and all of his rat people once again rallied to the sage's side, along with his second son, since his first was not only still imprisoned, but had also gone mad. The Tiger Brothers, on the other hand, were not happy to see the sage return, especially the younger brother, who still blamed the rat for the death of their father at the hands of Zubajia over a century ago. The Mad Tiger then urged his older brother to join him in not only driving out all of the rats from their Yellow Wind Ridge mountain, but also in straight up slaying the Yellow Wind Sage. But as I'm sure you could probably guess, they were absolutely no match for the sheer power of the sage. Especially now that his power was being fortified by the Bodhisattva's severed head. The younger tiger was knocked out immediately, and just before the sage landed the killing blow, the elder brother cast down his weapons and knelt in surrender to save his little brother's life. The sage, who has always been weirdly very forgiving, immediately forgave both of them, understanding where their anger came from, especially once he heard that they blamed him for their father's death. He even granted the older brother the official title of being the new Tiger Vanguard, and even though the older tiger did truly hate the sage, he still accepted because he was no fool and knew that the alternative would mean death for him and his brother. However, when the Mad Tiger woke up and learned that his older brother not only surrendered to the sage but also accepted his invitation to serve him, he couldn't believe it, and the two of them argued bitterly until the Mad Tiger finally stormed off, destroying the last ties of the Tiger family once and for all. The sage also tried to check on his old pal, the mother.
So when one of them decided to join the sage, it caused friction and destroyed the hierarchy they had once they all split apart. That split in its own is kind of what allowed the rats to really be on top at that point in time. Okay. It's interesting though, because I guess the sage was depicted in a manner when we first met him in the past, where I can kind of see him being on the benevolent, like on the fake nice, or even if that's actually him side. But like when you fight him towards the end as the final boss, homie seems like cracked out, or maybe I'm misremembering. Like I can't imagine him like, I don't know, like doing half the things he did with the tigers.
By the Son of Stones at the entrance to the mountain, which the sage initially took as a threat, ordering the Tiger Vanguard to eliminate the powerful Stone Gwai. However, since the Tiger and the Son of Stones went way back and literally used to run the mountain together as mountain deities, the Tiger instead made a deal with the Rock Gwai, convincing his old friend to just join the Tiger and Sage's forces instead of fighting against them and focus solely on guarding Shigandang. And he also advised the Son of Stones that the Yellow Sage could kill them both if he wanted to, so it was probably in their best interest to just comply.
So now I'm confused. I'm thinking about this. So in the final chapter where I'm in now, in the last video that I've done, I think too, there was a stone child that was chilling that I beat up. And in prior videos and outside of this area, level 2, whatever, excuse me, I've killed other stone enemies. Are they all connected, interwebbed in like a family tree, kind of like the toads and the dragons? I think I just home wrecked, like, for real. Now I'm thinking about it.
The stones agreed to this.
I don't know that this connected.
And no longer opposed the rat. And the next day, the Yellow Wind Sage appointed the Rock Gwai his new Stone Vanguard. Also, as a fun fact, you can actually make the Stone Vanguard fight against Shigandang if you summon Shigandang while the fight with the Stone Vanguard is ongoing. After which, of course, you can kill them both. Anyway, the Tiger Vanguard then lived out his days in servitude to the Yellow Rat, even though he secretly hated him, venting his anger by devouring some of the sage's rat people every day at the Crouching Tiger Temple, breaking his old moral...
You know what I realized? So it makes sense why the Tiger Vanguard was so easy to like find during the main path and why he was not too far away from the sage. It's because he was the one that followed the sage. So like he's a part of the main path. Whilst the other ones, they just split off. So when you go to the past, wherever that area is, I don't know if they all are in the secret area, but like that's why they're on diverging paths that are away from the sage's direction.
Of never devouring.
That's fire. That's fire.
His younger brother had stormed off to the nearby village of Windrest and was living at the bottom of a well just outside the village, where he would practice his fighting techniques and roars. One day there came to the village a father and his sickly son. The father was a mighty swordsman who had forsaken his fighting days due to falling in love with a woman. He married her, and together they had a child and lived happily in a city nearby. However, terrible winds started stirring up one day, and they caused his wife to become very ill, and eventually to pass away. Their child also began to succumb to the same illness. However, the man had heard of a Bodhisattva Lingji who could cure this wind sickness, but upon reaching the Mount Sumeru, discovered that the Bodhisattva had left to the Yellow Wind Ridge but had not yet returned. Desperate to save his son's life, he and his son arrived at the village of Windrest, but to the father's dismay learned that it was also right beside the source of these terrible winds, making his son's condition even worse by the hour. One day, while the man was searching high and low for the Bodhisattva, he heard a tiger's roar coming from a well. Finding this strange, he climbed down this well and discovered the mad tiger, who was still nursing some of his wounds from his fight with the sage. While they talked, the swordsman explained his son's illness and their reasoning for coming to Windrest. The mad tiger then had the bright idea of pretending to be his brother, the mountain deity, Tiger Vanguard, and the one who the Crouching Tiger Temple was raised in honor of. And when the swordsman asked the other people of the village if this was true, they confirmed that it was, as they had no idea he was talking about the younger brother and not the actual Tiger Vanguard. However, the mad tiger decided to go all in with his impersonation of his elder brother, and once the swordsman was done telling him of his sickly child, claimed that he, as a deity, could heal the young boy. This caused the swordsman to lower his child down into the well, where the tiger verified that the sickness was indeed caused by the dangerous wind. He had a magical gourd that his older brother had given him to treat his wounds, and on a whim suggested that the boy drink from this gourd, claiming that it would heal him. Upon drinking the water from the gourd, the boy actually did start to get better, speaking once again and praising the mad tiger, calling him the tiger god. The so-called tiger god was ecstatic and finally found respect and satisfaction from helping this father-son duo. So he instructed them to come back every day in order to have the boy sip from the gourd. However, the mad tiger also grew hungry and told the father that he too was affected by the Samadhi wind, and the only cure for his ailment was the flesh of the living. Even though the swordsman was very reluctant to grant the tiger this wish, the image of his son being healthy and happy once again was all he really wanted. So he purposed in his heart to do whatever it took to achieve this goal, and began tricking some of the villagers to follow him down into the well, where he would feed them one by one to the mad tiger god. For a while, things continued on this way, making the boy much healthier and the mad tiger much less hungry. The tiger even straight up gave his magical gourd to the boy entirely to take with him, trusting them to return day by day and deliver villagers for the tiger to eat. But one day they stopped coming altogether, leaving the mad tiger confused for several days following, until he decided to venture out of the well in order to figure out what was going on, where he discovered that the entire village had been slaughtered mercilessly by a vengeful blade. At the entrance of the village was a single coffin. Inside this coffin was the corpse of the young boy, still wearing the tiger's gourd around his neck, having been beaten to death by sticks. It turns out the villagers had figured out that the swordsman was leading them to their deaths at the bottom of the well. But instead of confronting the father about it, they decided to take their revenge by beating his child to death with sticks and rods as revenge for their murdered neighbors. This led the swordsman, now known as the tiger's acolyte, to once again draw the sword that he had sealed away due to falling in love.
That's S. He's S. They're both S. Now, okay, bro, the tie-in to this dude. I'm over here thinking this is like one of the Myth Marvel characters you're just never gonna see. That's gas. That's gas. That's gas. That's gas. That's gas. Absolutely gas.
With everything
S-tier.
taken from him,
S-tier.
he cut down every man, woman, and child in the village, then set out alone to wander for the rest of his days.
Wow.
Until encountering the Destined One on a bridge. His last words as he meets his end are, "This is my karma. I shouldn't have.
Oh
with all
my
skills,
gosh.
And once he dies, he drops his son's old rattle drum toy, which
Oh
the Destined
my
One can then use
gosh.
to communicate with the boy's spirit, leading him to the well, where we can encounter and put an end
Oh
to the
my
Mad Tiger God.
gosh, bro.
Now back to wrapping up the story of the Yellow Sage and his
Oh,
remaining
that
company.
nah,
The Tiger
nah,
Vanguard
bro,
and King
nah, bro, nah, bro. That was fire. That was fire. That alone, we could have just talked about that. That's the video. That's the bit. That's the bit. Not that. The S+, all of them,
Flowing
all three.
Sands were not getting along, but were still forced to work together at the command of the Yellow-Winged Sage. And if it were not for the king's second son, the second prince of the Flowing Sands, and his mighty hammer, the tiger might have just as easily eaten the Rat King. But the king was wise to his eating his fellow rats and was planning on some sort of restoration, which likely meant he was planning on fighting back against the tiger in some way. But before any of his plan was able to come to fruition, the Destined One arrives and eliminates both
Kills
the
him.
king and second prince of the Flowing Sands.
Yep,
After
and the
this,
little
Destined
man
One
runs.
encounters and eliminates the long
Gets
since
big
maddened
son.
first prince. And at
Right.
the very same Crouching Tiger Temple ends the life of the final Tiger Vanguard,
Right.
leaving only the story of the Yellow Sage himself to be wrapped up.
Yes.
You might be wondering, why is it that the rat decided to turn evil?
Yes.
Even though he appears to possess good qualities.
That's what I'm
According to
saying.
the journal entry of Bodhisattva Lingji, whose headless corpse, by the way, became none other than the mysterious headless musician who leads the Destined One along his journey, the Yellow Wind Sage appears to have blamed the siege of the beetle monster Fuban and the curse of the rat transformations on Lingji directly, claiming that those who bring disaster on others will have disasters brought upon themselves, insinuating that he opposes Lingji because of the way he disciplined the people of Sahali, believing it to be unfair, possibly seeing his own actions as vengeance. The Destined One finally encounters the Yellow Wind Sage in the middle of the valley as he's in the middle of attempting to harness the full power of Sun Wukong's relic within the Bodhisattva's head, but at long last falls victim to the might of the Destined One and his mighty rod, finally ending the
Easy
story
boss
of
fight.
the little yellow mink who sought justice for the villagers of Yellow Wind Ridge. Bodhisattva's head reattaches to his body and he removes Wukong's fuming ear's relic from his head, giving it to the Destined One instead. And with that, we have now officially wrapped up the explanation and backstory of every single boss in Chapter 2 of Black Myth.
W.
If there was any lore I missed
W.
or got wrong, please let me know all about it in the comments
Hey,
below.
I
And if you're
won't
still
because I didn't miss any of the, like, not miss, but like I feel like you taught me so much. You got it. You got it. Hey, Bandit, that was fire. But look. Let me talk for a second. I personally think Chapter 2 was weak as hell. I think the story towards the end was like the best portion, but a lot of those characters, the dog was great. Okay, dog was A tier, and then Mad Tiger, the boy, and the like, I guess the father tiger, the samurai, S plus. Everybody else is kind of like, like the middle portion wasn't really gripping me. I think the only chapter that I might watch from this point on, because I think that's going to be a very similar thing within 3. I don't think a lot within 3 I was that captivated in learning more. It probably wouldn't even get me. But oh wait, no, I need to know Yellow Long. Whatever Yellow Long's in, I gotta spin the block on that one. I think that might be 3. No, that's 5. That's 4. Yeah, 3 is the long one. 3, good luck. Hey, Bandit, good luck, bro. 3 is a long chapter. He's probably gonna drop an hour-long video. There's just no way. But yeah, Yellow Long, I need to know. And I think chapter 5. So what is that, like 4 and 5? Or is it 3 and 5? I think Yellow Long's 3. I don't know, bro. I'm getting confused. But hey, thanks for watching. I gotta catch this flight, bro. Like I'm doing too much. But yes, I love y'all. And let me know what you guys think down below. Did you like chapter 2? Do you think it's like holding the candle to chapter 1's lore? I don't really think it is, but I think this was still good nevertheless. All right, so listen, I've been doing a whole lot of nothing again, bro. It's impressive. 3 days back to back. I think I'm tired a little. Tomorrow's gonna be the day off. Whoa. Tomorrow I'm going back to it. and then we're gonna just get back to regular videos up until Dragon Ball Sparking. Got a lot of cool shit that I'm excited for you guys to see, but until then, I think there's another series that I wasn't going to make into a series, but I think at this point I just gotta commit. You know, when we were playing Black Myth Wukong and I was going back to the Homie Bandit games to get the full context of all the story beats that I was missing out on. Well, look, a lot of people were telling me to go and watch his 3rd episode because he said apparently he left something in
He lays his eyes on Goku, his long golden hair and eyes filled with nothing but anger being a stark contrast to the Goku he once knew. His eyes fill with tears as he sees how mentally and emotionally damaged he is now. Pushing that aside and focusing on the issue at hand, he starts pleading with Goku to help them. He explains that Piccolo has taken over Earth and taken Kami hostage. Goku is this world's last hope. Goku smirks, shooting a thumbs up to Popo, but Popo realizes that there's something wrong. What have they done? We switch perspectives to Piccolo, who clenches his throne armrest incredibly hard. That power was unreal. How could he ever hope to win? Was that really Goku? He needed to do something. He was shaking the second he felt that energy. Piccolo tells his forces, Cyborg Tao and Shen, who had both joined him, telling them to prepare for an attack. Piccolo heads to the back, where he crosses in front of the cells containing Krillin, Tenshinhan, Yamcha, and Chaozu. He finally reaches a cell with a little bottle on it, thinking to himself that perhaps it was time to use him. Piccolo takes the bottle and swallows it. Goku arrives at the Tenkaichi Budokai, where he had felt Piccolo's ki. There, Piccolo had taken it as a base of operations. He arrives at the front steps of the destroyed arena, where Tao and Shen stand tall. They ask who the hell he is. He clearly looks like the Goku they knew, but he's far too old. They then question if he's his dad or something. They begin to mock Goku, who silently walks towards them, his aura sparking up and blasting them away with minimal effort. Inside, Piccolo realizes just how easy his minions were defeated. He starts to sweat. Goku arrives through the front doors, and Piccolo exclaims, "Welcome, Son Goku. It's finally time to avenge my father." Goku smirks in response, and he says, "I'm not here for you, I'm here for Kami." Goku begins to toy with Piccolo as they fight, allowing him to believe that he has the advantage. Piccolo isn't naive, however, knowing that the Saiyan is holding back against him. Insulted, he tells Goku to go all out. As he says this, just for a split second, Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan in order to dodge one of Piccolo's moves. When Piccolo turns back around, Goku has already made it inside the building. Piccolo shakes in anger, realizing that for a split second, Goku's power multiplied itself by 50 times. He thinks that Goku may actually be a threat to his reign. He decides to free all the Z fighters as a means to try and make Goku vulnerable. They stumble out, weakened and wary. They notice Goku and begin to feel hopeful, running towards him and amongously being happy about seeing him again. Krillin runs towards his best friend, attempting to embrace him, but Tien notices how different Goku's dark energy had become. He's no longer the Goku we once knew and loved. Krillin realizes this as soon as he touches Goku, a shock of electricity sparking and shocking his hand. Krillin moves away, realizing just how much different this Goku was. His heart sinks. They realize that their only hope is now lost. Krillin speaks in a sorrowful tone.
"Goku, what's wrong? We need your help."
His eyes begin to fill with tears as he stares at his former best friend. Goku turns to face the shorter man, a twisted smile on his face, with electricity crackling around his body. He says, "It's good to see you again, Krillin, but I'm not here to save you. Goku finally reached the place where he last felt Kami's ki, but clearly he wasn't there. It was an empty cell. Goku then turned to face the others. Piccolo stood in the middle, yelling at everyone that this guy is much more dangerous than he could ever be. If they want to survive, they all have to team up. Krillin insists that he won't fight Goku, that he's his best friend. Yamcha gulps, getting on the defensive. He tells Goku that Bulma never lost hope for him, that she knew he would return. Was he going to break her heart? Tien curses, but Goku simply ignores them, asking Piccolo where Kami is, telling him that he's going to pay. Krillin wonders just exactly what happened to Goku to cause this change. Whoever did this to him was an awful person. But Tien realizes that they don't have any time for this, with Goku making it clear that he has no problem attacking anyone who stands in his way. Tien rushes in, no more words. Piccolo and Chaozu follow behind. The clash instantly destroys the tournament building. Goku can easily keep up with all of them, turning into a Super Saiyan. They wonder how he could have gotten so powerful. One by one, the Z Fighters fall. They know that Goku had lost his mind. He keeps looking down and referring to someone who isn't there at all. To Gohan, Krillin tries to tell Goku that his grandfather isn't there, that he wouldn't have wanted this, that he is in Otherworld. But Goku explains that he isn't talking to his grandfather. Piccolo realizes that he has to take one final chance, use his ace card to win. While Goku defeats the Z Fighters, Piccolo rushes out into a cave where he frees Kami. Kami attempts to battle Piccolo, but he feels the incredible power of Goku approach. Piccolo says that whatever Kami did to this kid may mean everyone's death. Kami laments this. He could never forgive himself. He didn't think that Goku could ever escape the chamber, let alone survive this whole time. Piccolo explains that the only way they could stand a chance is if they unite their forces, bringing back the Namekian of old. Goku defeats Krillin, knocking him out. He didn't kill any of the Z Fighters, but if there's one thing that Kami taught him, is that he couldn't trust anyone, not even his oldest friends. Goku finally reaches the cave where Piccolo and Kami hid. He's about to blast it away when he sees a bright light being emanated from it. Kami and Piccolo's fusion walks out of the cave with a stern look, throwing his cape to the side. Goku smiles. Clearly, he would finally have a slight challenge. They begin to fight, with Piccolo versus Goku being fair enough. He enjoys himself, even if he does have to hold back just a tiny bit. Piccolo thinks that he may actually win the fight, and he starts to pin Goku down, throwing several blasts at him. But when Goku begins to dodge all of them, Piccolo tries something drastic, rushing in with a Hell Flash. Piccolo thinks that he may have actually won, but as the smoke dissipates, Goku is seen intact. Not only had he tanked the blast, but he had also changed. His hair was now spikier, and electricity flowed around him. He was a Super Saiyan 2. Just how far had his powers grown in the chamber? Piccolo's eyes widen. He didn't know that Goku had power beyond his original transformation. The Saiyan smirks, telling Kami that he had waited for this for a long time, that he had been betrayed, and that he couldn't forgive him for that. He wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't going to take over Earth or anything like that, but he would use it as his training grounds. That's all he cared about. Training. Piccolo, speaking for Kami, says that he does regret doing that. And without another word, Goku defeats him in one punch. In West City, where Bulma had been gathering forces in order to find a way to defeat Piccolo, the Dragon Balls that sat on her desk turned to stone. Goku looks over the world, a world that had been decimated by Piccolo. He didn't care to rule it. He didn't care about it at all. Yamcha, Krillin, Tien, and Chaozu hide out with Bulma. Once they wake up, Bulma is saddened by the news, and Chi-Chi, who was one of the people that Bulma needed the help from, begins to tear up. The two embrace, with Chi-Chi promising to train hard along with the Z Fighters. One day, Goku did show up to Capsule Corp, making sure that he entered when nobody was there, finding the rocks that were once Dragon Balls. He just had a feeling he knew which one was the 4th star, and he took it. That simple rock meant more to him than the whole planet. 3 years pass with Goku training all over the world. He doesn't rule it, he doesn't attack, but he doesn't care for anyone who lives on Earth. Most people live in hiding, afraid that Goku may keep training, because every time he does, he causes more and more destruction with his incredible power. One day after training, Goku sits quietly over Mount Paozu. He senses someone close by. Slowly he turns his head, and he sees an imposing figure arrive. His eyes focus on the tail. The man introduces himself as Raditz, his older brother. He only says one thing.
You've done a great job preparing this planet for us, Kakarot.
Raditz approaches his younger brother, putting a hand on his shoulder. He was surprised to see him in this state. It was clear that he had a hard-fought battle, and although Raditz wasn't keen of any weaklings, part of him was happy to see his brother again. But as Kakarot turned his face, Raditz realized just how older he looked. Goku tilts his head, and he wonders what he means by Kakarot. Raditz smiles, noticing his brother's dumbfounded expression. Raditz takes a note of Kakarot's lack of tail, which means that he must have had a difficult time on Earth. Raditz goes on to explain just who he is and what they are. He is happy to see the planet decimated the way it is, but he may have gone a little too hard on it. With the way it looks now, they may have a harder time selling it. He also wonders why there seems to be some power levels running around unchecked. Goku ignores everything but the part about the Saiyans, shocked by the revelation, but you wouldn't know it by the look on his face. So, this was his brother. During his time in the time chamber, he had a lot of time to think, and he certainly thought about where he came from. Once he slowly started to lose his mind, he began to have some dreams about a woman and a man placing him in a space pod. Was that not a dream? Raditz explains that 4 Saiyans remain, including the 2 of them. They are ready to welcome him back to the squad. He is, however, curious about just how strong he's gotten over the years. He seems rugged, old, even older than his father did when he passed away. That was the face of a warrior, alright. Goku smirks. Perhaps this guy will be an even bigger challenge than Piccolo. He has to start slow if he wants to check it out. Raditz thought it was silly, but humored his brother, thinking that of course he would come out on top. But as the 2 clash, and civilians run afraid of Goku's training once more, Raditz realizes that his brother is keeping up way too easily. Just how strong had this kid gotten? Goku asks Raditz to go all out, to which Raditz responds with a Saturday crush, which Goku simply slaps away. Raditz is completely surprised, and finally checks his scouter. That power was massive. No way that was right. When he slapped the beam away, his power rose to 10,000. He seemed to do it without any problem. That was potentially even stronger than Vegeta if Kakarot decided to go all out. If they trained him more, he could even defeat Frieza. Raditz shook his head. That was just a dumb idea. He shouldn't even be thinking about it. Raditz was a little afraid but kept his cool. He promised Kakarot that a better fight would be in store once they arrived to the Frieza ship. There, they will meet Vegeta and Nappa. Goku hopes that they really will be stronger because he hasn't had a good match since Piccolo, and that was some years ago. Raditz calls on his own pod and Kakarot's to meet them at their location. Inviting Kakarot in, Goku tells him to wait as he runs into an old shed nearby. Grabbing a round rock, Goku held it tight, talking to it and acting as if he was placing it on top of someone's hat, and then said with it. Raditz asks who he's talking to, and Goku says that he's talking to Gohan, of course, the kid with the Dragon Ball on his head. Raditz is confused, and Goku explains that the Dragon Balls once granted any wish. They were made by him, the guy who locked him away long ago, the guy that betrayed him. Goku's expression went dark, and Raditz didn't question it. He was a real weirdo. Goku and Raditz take off to planet Frieza, where they eat together. Raditz thinks his brother is really strange. Strange convictions and strange smell, like he hasn't showered in years. But he did remind him of his father somewhat. For the first time in a long time, Goku took a bath, and Raditz tried to replace his old tattered clothes, but Goku refused, instead putting the armor on top. The room went completely quiet as soon as Vegeta and Nappa stepped in. The two had just returned from a mission to take down a bug planet. Their imposing nature made everyone shake. Raditz stood up, welcoming them. Kakarot stayed seated. Vegeta scoffed, asking if this was his weakling brother. Raditz motions to Kakarot to stand up in respect, but Goku doesn't move. Nappa steps over the table, shoving Goku's face on his food. He taunts the low-class Saiyan, but Goku quickly turns his head up, making Nappa bite his tongue. Nappa is pissed, and yells at Goku to step outside and fight him. Goku smirks at the challenge. Raditz tries to stop them, but Vegeta shuts him down. Outside, the Frieza Force watches as Goku fights on the defensive. He comments on how disappointed he is that he is nowhere near as strong as Piccolo. Nappa tried to attack once more, but Goku knees him in the gut, knocking him out. Vegeta is surprised and gets some ideas. It was impossible for someone like him to be so strong, but he could use him. The Frieza Force cheers, telling Goku to kill Nappa, but Goku has no ill will against him. He simply puts the key ball down and goes back inside to eat. That night, the 3 evil Saiyans have a meeting where they discuss Kakarot. They agree that it's obvious that Kakarot does not trust them, so they will need to win his trust if they want to use him against Frieza. But once Frieza is done, will he become the ruler of the universe? No. That has to be Vegeta. Raditz mentions to him that Kakarot was talking about a set of wish-granting orbs from Earth, but he's pretty sure Kakarot was a lunatic. Vegeta agrees, but tells Raditz to push for more information out of Kakarot, just in case. They will go on a few missions together before they try anything against Frieza. Make sure they know whose side Kakarot is on. Unbeknownst to Vegeta, some of the Frieza force reported on the fight between Kakarot and Nappa. Now he has an eye on him and the squad as well. Over the next few months, Goku joins Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz on various missions taking over planets. Vegeta makes sure to keep a close eye on Goku, though surprisingly enough, he just seems to be interested in treating these missions as training grounds. The planets are all nearly completely eviscerated by the time the missions are done. One of the many planets they go to is Mon Masu, a planet full of giant creatures. The team actually have some trouble with it at first, but Kakarot steps up to the plate. One of the giants attempts to beat Vegeta, but Goku saves him. Kakarot is distracted by the giant and fails to see a boulder thrown his way. Vegeta punches the boulder to pieces, with Goku and Vegeta nodding at each other. Goku is busy trying to have a good match against the giant when he turns around and sees his new allies being swarmed by enemies. Vegeta is the only one still fighting well. Goku smirks, rushing in with a Super Saiyan transformation and destroying all of the giants at once. He was a little disappointed. He wanted to continue having a fair match. It was more fun that way. Goku cracks his neck, slowly turning to look at the other Saiyans, who look at him horrified. Vegeta in particular reaches his hand up towards him, and in his other hand, he crushes his scouter. That glow, that power, those eyes. Kakarot. There was no doubt about it. That was the legendary Super Saiyan. The other Saiyan scouters explode. Vegeta is angry. He can't believe that a worthless, low-class scum has become a Super Saiyan before him. But he was torn. He knew they needed him to defeat Frieza, yet his pride wouldn't allow him to take this sitting down. Vegeta throws all sense out of the way, challenging Kakarot to a fight. Goku smiles, asking if Vegeta can go blonde too. Vegeta screams in anger, rushing in and slamming his fist against Goku's face, but the man barely moved. The two fight, but it's obvious to Vegeta that he cannot win. Not in a million years. But Goku still has a fun time. Yeah, he's stronger, far stronger, but Vegeta has amazing moves. Stuff he's never seen before. Beyond Raditz, maybe beyond even Piccolo. Even so, he wished he could find someone stronger than Piccolo. That's all he wanted. As Vegeta continues to fight, Raditz and Nappa yell at him to calm down, that they have bigger fish to fry. Vegeta has veins popping from his forehead, turning and pointing at Kakarot, saying, "He is literally the biggest fish." Vegeta is having none of it. In Kakarot's aura, he sees the Saiyan race, his father, but above all, Frieza. He was supposed to be the one to defeat him and become a Super Saiyan, not some low-class trash. He had to win. In that, Vegeta made a desperate move and launched an artificial moon to the sky. Nappa and Raditz asked, "What the hell?" trying to avoid looking at it, but soon losing control as the Ozaru was awoken. Now Goku stood in front of 3 great apes. He smirked. So, that's what the nightmares about the monkey were about. That must mean that he was the one to kill his grandfather. Vegeta was the